Hi, this is Patty and welcome to my house on the river. Today I am going to be talking about Letters to a Young Therapist written by Mary Pfeiffer. Mary Pfeiffer wrote this book when she was 55 years old, and she wrote each chapter in the form of letters to one of her favorite graduate students. She wrote it to her favorite graduate student, Laura, who was outdoorsy, had a thirst for knowledge, confident, a young woman, and it was kind of cool because I felt some personal connections to both Mary and Laura, but I really felt like I could possibly be Laura, who Mary was writing the letters to. So the book focused on a lot, and not only family therapy, but also just individual therapy as well. I, in this video, in the synopsis, am going to try to keep it family and marriage therapy oriented, so only talking about what she talked about in terms of family and marriage therapy, but some of the things do overlap between individual and seeing multiple people at once. The first chapter that heavily related to family therapy was entitled Family Bashing. And in this chapter it discussed that families are not perfect and it's easy to bash them and blame them and to build like a skyscraper on shaky ground for a client. But as damaging as families can be, they can also be a source of nourishment and joy, and everyone needs people. And if a client can find love within their family, which is very likely, or a family member to love, it's extremely helpful to their well-being. She also talked about in this chapter how short-term therapies can use like one situation, and it's oftentimes a family situation, to use as grounds for like a client's entire dysfunctioning, which is like a way overgeneralization. Because subjective truths can be distorted and it's just full of assumptions. So short-term therapies are not always the best. She talks about the importance of self-care, which I think is important for any therapist. And she goes on to talk about dating, and Pfeiffer kind of almost has like a negative view on dating. She like thinks it's like this battleground for being hurt. She addresses the letter to Laura both personally to watch out for herself in the dating world, and also addresses it as a concern that many clients are going to bring in. So, okay, sorry. She lets Laura know that people can be selfish, and when dating partners, what partners do often isn't about you, but is rather about the partner's own needs. She also talks a lot about American culture and how men are taught to suppress their feelings and women are taught to be flirty but not too flirty and walk that fine line. She goes on to warn against that what glitters, saying it's not marriage material. And she says it's important to witness people across a variety of situations, and not just in a party sense or in a work sense or in a social sense or in a fun sense, whatever variety of situations, so to create a healthy relationship. She states at the end that she thinks that old-fashioned ways are the best: respect, loyalty, stability, and honesty. In the chapter right after dating, Pfeiffer goes on to talk about marriage, and she talks about the worst kind of marriages and the best kinds of marriages. She lists the worst kind of marriages as the can't live with him, can't live without him kind of marriage, usually riddled with addictions, lies, and violence, and they're usually very extreme. Tug and pull. The second worst type of marriage, she says, is the totally disconnected people that share a space and nothing else, like two ships passing in the same sea. And then a common dysfunction, which I had never heard of before, is that one mate is intellectual and controlled by an impulsive and emotional mate. And she says this is a really common dynamic that I thought was super interesting, and wondered if maybe I had experienced that myself as one or the other person, which is always interesting. And awareness is the first step in noticing. She notes the best kind of marriages to be contrasting personalities, where couples provide each other what the other person doesn't naturally possess. So the example she uses is one person might be low energy and one person is really high energy, bringing something that the low energy person likes but doesn't possess themselves. And of course it's all a balance, so can't be too contrasting, but doing it well. She also goes on to say that she sees couples that are imperfect with chronic unresolved issues, and they've just accepted that those will always be there. And I thought that was really beautiful. She also says other important factors in a relationship are good communication, couples that laugh together, good manners with each other when interacting, and happy couples in research see their partners as smarter, sexier, and better looking than they really are. And these positive illusions help keep the couple together. The last major chapter on families we actually were assigned to read during class, and that's how I got the idea. It's called Helping Ophelia's Family, and it tells Laura that family work can be overwhelming at first, but then tells her it's important to create a mellow environment, provide education about healthy development for individuals. So it's normal for a teenager to rebel. That's an example of normalizing teenage behavior. Healthy family members shift roles, not like who's parent and who's child, but more like who's the joker, who's the strong one, who is the one in pain. That being said, parental authority should be respected according to Pfeiffer. And she promotes the linking of new groups and families. So if mom and dad don't hang out that much, getting mom and dad some time. And if dad and his youngest daughter don't hang out that much, creating some time for them. It's important to share feelings of uncertainty, she says. These are really normal. And teach practical skills on how to work through conflict. So using the therapy room as a practical time to teach some skills. All right, I've already gone a minute over, so I'll let you go. That is Mary Pfeiffer's Letters to a Young Therapist synopsis.